Bengals.
No, I don't like any of it, and I kind of soft launched this take last week, where I said that the Bengals have mismanaged this, in my opinion, letting it get to this point already, to where if there wasn't the deep, long-term, back-to-college personal connection between Joe and Jamar, I would consider turning the ship in the other direction, giving T money and getting a first-round pick and then some for Jamar Chase. But I didn't think that was doable because Joe and Jamar are so tight. But on the heels of this, the same day reporting of him being tagged was Diana Rossini, maybe the most reliable NFL reporter out there, telling us Jamar and the Bengals are miles apart. I don't think you can have both of these players at a combined, I don't even pay two receivers a combined $65 million. And that's what we're looking at. And so they still could trade T. You can trade him, you know what I mean, when he's on the tag. And if you also saw today, they released Kappa, their guard. There was a report they might be trying to release Sam Hubbard. Guys, we saw what the Bengals look like with Burrow playing at MVP level. Yeah. Higgins awesome, Chase awesome. They're not good enough. And so I don't trust the franchise. I don't know why they do this thing where they draft good players, they play well, and then they're like, okay, your rookie contract has come to its conclusion. We wish you good luck in your future endeavors, but it's what they've done repeatedly. And so, no, I don't like it in any way, shape, or form, and I wonder if there's another move coming because I just can't see them, Coach, paying Jamar $40 million or $40 million a year and T. Higgins 1 year, $26 million.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't do this at this point because with Jamar, he's on his fifth-year option, so you have time to negotiate with him. And even if you're far apart, it's not like he can go anywhere else, so there's no pressure there. With Hendrickson, it's the same thing. He has another year on his contract, so you may be trying to work on a deal with him, but he can't go anywhere else either. The only person that could go anywhere was T. Higgins. So by franchising him, now you have the option to see where those other deals come out, potentially negotiate with T to see whether you can get a longer-term deal, if that makes any sense, or you have the ability to trade him down the line, which you get value as an organization. Why would you let a guy walk free when you now have him for this number? And if he plays, okay, it's a one-year deal, and you're not stuck with a bunch of dead money, or you're not stuck with a long-term deal. And if you decide to move on him, you're going to get some real capital, maybe from Wild's Patriots or whoever, where you trade him and you get something back for the player. That makes sense too.
I'm honestly genuinely confused by this move. Okay, I shouldn't say I'm confused. Okay, so they're having two different conversations because one is from the Bengals side of things and one's kind of from like the T. Higgins side and the Joe Burrow side, and it's kind of messy honestly because I'm failing to see how T. Higgins is going to want this. I'm failing to see how T. Higgins is going to be like, oh, it's great. I'm happy with this. Like I just don't see that. At this point of his career, his age, he wants a big contract. He wants a real contract, not a franchise tag. I mean, that was kind of the issue last season, and now we're just kind of recycling it. So I can't imagine that this is the long-term play. And that T. Higgins is just going to play this season on the franchise tag and prove everyone that he's a great receiver and that he's worthy of a contract next year. I don't see that happening. I just don't. And the Cincinnati Bengals are such a mess of a team, man, because they do let these things happen. And this is why, last year I even referenced the Philadelphia Eagles, even before they ended up winning a Super Bowl. It was like, what did they do? They were able to take care of Devontae and AJ completely quietly, for both multiple times. They were able to just get things done without anyone knowing anything. And boom, no problems, no issues, no nothing. And now we can say that it directly led to a Super Bowl. But now you're playing this game and it's just like, it's so ridiculous. But then like Nick saying, oh, we've seen this before and it wasn't good enough. No, the offense was great. The offense was special, but the defense was absolutely positively awful. Awful, awful, awful. But that's for multiple reasons. And it's not just because, oh, well, they're going to pay Chase or T. Higgins too much money and Joe Burrow. Like, that's not necessarily the problem either. You know, it's coaching, it's drafting, it's smart free, moves in free agency, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just like, oh, well, they have no money, and if they pay T. Higgins too much money or Jamar Chase too much money, then they can't do what they need to do defensively. It's like, no, their defense was just awful on multiple levels, and they did nothing to improve it, even when they weren't paying these guys. So like that's kind of a frustrating thing, because this is what I said. The Bengals. Why didn't the Bengals could have went out and got Fangio? They could have made a play and got Robert Saleh. Like, they could have made other concrete moves to try to elevate themselves defensively. What moves did they make last offseason going into this past season? What did they do to make their defense better? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And it showed. And it showed. I remember one of the most brain dead takes. I don't even know her name. She was on ESPN, and she was like, "Oh, I think the Bengals are going to be better because this defense," and she said something about like how they're going to be good and something to do with the defense. And I'm like, their defense was awful last year, like in 23. And I'm like, and they didn't do anything in going into 24 to improve. Like, why? Like, what are you anticipating? What are you expecting here? And that's what happened. That's what happened. So putting the focus on like a T. Higgins and Jamar Chase ends up kind of being the wrong conversation. But now having a franchise tag on T. Higgins, this can't be the final step. There's just no way that we're going to sign Jamar Chase and we have Joe Burrow and we're going to draft a couple of this and a couple of that and we're going to, sign this guy. And then we got T. Higgins on, the franchise tag and he's going to be good and jolly, ready to play. I don't see that happening. I really, really, really fail to understand this. So then it's like, well, are they going to try to sign him and then, or, franchise tag him and trade him? Are they franchise tagging him to kind of give themselves some time to say, hey, we have to franchise tag you now, but like we do want to figure out a long-term play. We just got to figure out a couple, and it just becomes lack of clarity. And it's one thing, again, if the Cincinnati Bengals were a better run team, and if they were, then you could say, okay, they're doing this because they have clear defined steps of what they're looking to do. They have their checklist of all the things that they need to do. But they're not. And if they were, this would already have been taken care of. This would have been taken care of when it would have been cheaper and more efficient to do. And they did not. So this is, oh my God, man. Bengals fans, if this season doesn't work out for them, and the next season, I mean, like, I don't even want to give them like a trajectory, honestly, like a window. But it's also not fair to say, well, they have to win this season. But it's just like, this team has been so poorly mismanaged, and Joe Burrow's career and the teams around him as a whole have been so poorly executed that it's just like Joe Burrow could literally become one of the biggest what ifs. What if he got drafted to this team? What if he had a good team? What if? Because it's just like unbelievable that you could have guys like T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, and have nothing to show for it. And, I hope I'm surprised. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they make other decisions that really improve the quality of this team. Because having a team like, having players like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, etc., like not in AFC championship games and like legitimately competing and winning and getting to Super Bowl, like to not have that, we are being robbed. To not have Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow AFC championship game. Baltimore Ravens, are you kidding me? Lamar Jackson versus Joe Burrow AFC championship game. Like, we're being robbed of that. Snowstorm, like we're being robbed of great moments. Another matchup between the Chiefs and the Bengals. The Bengals versus the Eagles, like Super Bowl, like we're being robbed just from an even if you're not a Bengals fan, like you should be angry because we're being robbed of just awesome games, of high level play, of players that should be, legitimately historic, and we're being robbed because of poorly run franchises. And the Bengals are at the top of the list. And again, maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe they got something up their sleeve. I don't know what it is. But I'm confident that the franchise tag can't be the conclusion of this thread, of this aspect of this story, because I'm just failing to see it. And don't come back to me, but well, T. Higgins doesn't have a choice; he has to because of blah. Like, oh no, that's not how the world works. That's how it maybe looks like in writing. It's not the way the world works. So I would be absolutely positively stunned if T. Higgins is like, yeah, all right, I got a franchise tag. I'm getting paid good money this year. I'll get my contract next year. I don't see it happening. I do not see it happening. So what is the actual long-term play here? I don't know. And do you trust the Bengals to do it at a high level and be successful? You know, be careful where you place your confidence. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Cincinnati Bengals and the fact that they just franchise tag T. Higgins? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.